My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 20 missed calls, all from Mason Taylor's number. The same guy who blocked me 3 days ago after humiliating me in front of his friends and sticking me with a $200 dinner bill. I gripped my cold coffee, hands shaking, as his name flashed on my screen. The morning light poured through my apartment window, but his 3 a.m. voicemail echoed in my head, his voice panicked. Michelle, please. Call me back. Something's wrong. The photos, how did you? I'm begging you. I smirked and let it ring. A girl like me deserves a little fun. How did I go from heartbroken to holding all the power? How did 3 days turn me from a sobbing mess into someone who could make Mason Taylor beg? It started that night at Romano's restaurant. More importantly, it was what I uncovered about the man I thought I loved. Some secrets are buried deep, and when they surface, they don't just sting, they shatter everything. Mason was about to learn I wasn't the quiet, ugly girl he tossed aside. I'd love to know where you're watching this from. Drop your country in the comments. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Your support fuels more epic revenge stories. Keep watching. 3 days ago, I sat across from Mason at Romano's, the fancy Italian spot where we had our first date 2 years back. The irony hit hard, he picked the same place to dump me, though I didn't see it coming. You look beautiful, he said, but his eyes wandered the room, chasing something better than me. I wore the emerald dress he got me for Christmas, my auburn hair in soft waves, makeup flawless. I felt good. I thought he'd think so too. I was so wrong. Thanks, I murmured, reaching for his hand. His skin felt cold, detached. Mason, are you okay? You've been off lately. He pulled away and ordered another whiskey, his third. Everything's fine, Michelle. Can't I take you out without an interrogation? His words cut, but I swallowed the pain. He'd been stressed with his marketing job, or so he claimed. As a trauma nurse working 60-hour weeks, I knew stress too. I didn't mean, yo, Mason. 3 guys strutted up, Jake Charles, his slick college buddy, Trevor Banks, his crude coworker, and Ryan Mitchell, who never remembered my name. Mason lit up like a kid on Christmas. What are you guys doing here? Just wrapping up a client dinner, Jake said, barely glancing at me. Can we join for a drink? I wanted to scream no. This was our night, our first real date in weeks. But Mason was already pulling out chairs. Of course. Michelle, you know the guys? I gave a weak wave. Trevor ignored me. Ryan looked through me. Jake smirked. The next hour was brutal. They rambled about work, people I didn't know, sports I didn't care about. Every time I spoke, they cut me off or switched topics. Mason laughed at their cruel, unfunny jokes, and I shrank smaller in my seat. Then Trevor leaned back, eyeing me. So, Mason, when are you gonna upgrade? The table went silent. Mason's whiskey glass froze midair. What do you mean? He asked, voice flat. You know, Jake chimed in, loud enough for me to hear. You're successful, good-looking, got that big promotion. Time for an adjustment, right? My blood ran cold. They were talking about me, like I wasn't even there. Guys, Mason said, but there was no fire, no defense of me. Look around, Ryan added, waving at the restaurant's glamorous crowd. You need someone who fits. I stared at Mason, waiting for him to shut them down, to remember he once called me the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, that he loved my smile, my laugh, my obsession with old movies and stray cats. Instead, he slammed his whiskey down. You're right. The restaurant's hum faded. My heart stopped. The world tilted. Mason, I whispered. He turned, and I saw a stranger, his warm brown eyes now cold, cruel. Michelle, this isn't working. What? I choked out. His friends leaned back, smirking like they'd bought tickets to a show. Us, he said, gesturing between us. I'm moving up, and I need someone who matches my image. Image? I was drowning. What are you talking about? Look, Michelle, Mason sighed, like dumping me was just another chore. You're nice. You're okay, but let's be real. The word okay slammed into me like a fist. Real about what? His friends nodded, egging him on. He straightened, staring into my eyes. You're not pretty enough for where I'm headed. His words choked the air. I felt every diner's gaze, pity, curiosity, burning me. Mason, not here, I whispered. Not like this. When, Michelle? When should I tell you you're not enough? Trevor snorted. Harsh but fair, Jake chimed in. Sometimes you gotta be brutal to be kind. You want the truth? Mason's voice rose, drawing more stares. I've been embarrassed by you for months. I dodge bringing you to work events because you don't fit my world. Each word stabbed my chest. My knuckles whitened, gripping the table. Mason, please stop. You're a nurse, dealing with blood and mess. You drive a beat-up Honda, shop at discount stores, think Olive Garden's fancy. And you? He sneered, scanning me. You're not hot enough to make it worth it. Ryan whistled. Damn, Mason. She needs to hear it, he snapped. She needs reality. Tears stun, but I wouldn't cry. Not for them. So that's it? I asked. 2 years, done? 2 years too long, Mason said, standing. He tossed a $20 bill on the table. That's for my drinks. You got the rest, right? Call it a goodbye gift. The bill was $200, 2 weeks of groceries for me. Mason, I can't. You'll manage, he said, shrugging on his jacket. His friends followed like loyal dogs. See ya, Michelle, Jake mocked. Maybe. They laughed, strolling out like they hadn't just crushed me, like my 2 years with Mason were trash. At the door, Mason turned, shouting, "A girl like you should be grateful I dated you at all." Their laughter hit me like bullets as they left. The restaurant went quiet. Strangers stared. The waiter approached warily. Miss, anything else? Just the check, I whispered. It came, $237.43. I had less than that until payday. I smiled, not from joy, but because something inside me snapped. And in that break, I found something Mason didn't know existed, something that would turn his life upside down. I paid with my credit card and left Romano's, head high. The valet brought my 9-year-old Civic, bought with cash because I lived modestly. Mason always mocked my car, my clothes, my life. I thought he was joking, pushing me to improve. Now I saw he'd been judging me for months. Driving home, streetlights blurred through unshed tears. In my apartment, I locked the door, kicked off my heels, and faced the bathroom mirror. Ugly, I said. The woman staring back had auburn hair that shimmered, green eyes once called captivating, features like a Renaissance painting. I wasn't a model, but I wasn't ugly. I thought Mason saw that too. Okay, I said, the word bitter. I'd graduated top of my nursing class, worked trauma units in 3 cities, saved lives daily. I wasn't just okay, I was exceptional. But Mason was right about one thing, I wasn't who he thought. In my bedroom, I opened my closet. Behind my scrubs, in a dusty garment bag, was a black cocktail dress worth more than Mason's monthly salary. Next to it, jewelry that could clear his debts, shoes like art, an Italian clutch. I opened my laptop to a bank account I hadn't touched since moving here, $2,847,392.67. My portfolio, tech stocks, real estate, bonds, was thriving. Then I grabbed my hidden laptop, tucked in a false drawer bottom, loaded with software pricier than most cars. It was time to be who I really was. I'm Michelle Wilson, trauma nurse. But I'm also Richard Blackstone's daughter, heir to Blackstone Industries. I'm worth more than Mason and his buddies could dream of earning. 3 years ago, after Dad's death, I inherited his fortune and his company, one I helped build from coding at 12 to strategizing by 25. Inheriting billions at 26 taught me a hard lesson: people don't love you when you're rich. They love your wealth, your network, your influence. So, I stepped back. I put pros in charge of Blackstone Industries, moved to a new city, and became a trauma nurse, my dream job. I lived simply, drove a basic car, shopped at regular stores. I wanted someone to love me for me, not my bank account. I thought Mason Taylor was that someone. I was dead wrong. I opened my encrypted messaging app and sent a note to Victoria Cross, my dad's former CIA security chief. Vic, run a deep check on Mason Taylor, DOB March 15, 1992, works at Pinnacle Marketing. Also, Jake Charles, Trevor Banks, Ryan Mitchell, his crew. I want everything: money, relationships, secrets. 48 hours. 5 minutes later, Vic replied. Got it. How deep do you need me to go? I grinned at my laptop screen's reflection. Find it all, Vic. They hurt someone close to me. On it. Sorry to hear. Need backup? Not yet. Keep the team ready. I shut the laptop and faced my closet. Tomorrow, I'd play Heartbroken Michelle, the dumped nurse too broke for a fancy meal. But tonight, I had plans. Mason thought I was weak, powerless, nothing. He shamed me in public, thinking I couldn't fight back. He'd soon learn why some people stay quiet for a reason. At the hospital, I drifted through my shift like a shadow. I checked on Mrs. Rodriguez, post-heart attack. I helped Dr. Thompson save a crash victim. I calmed a teen who overdosed, typical Michelle stuff, the adequate work of an adequate nurse. My phone buzzed. Emma, my best friend and fellow nurse, texted, "You look awful." Coffee? Pass. Emma knew a sliver of my past, just that I came from money and wanted to pave my own way. She thought money meant a comfy suburban life, not that I could buy our hospital without blinking. In the cafeteria, over bad coffee, she pressed. Okay, talk. You're smiling, but your eyes are empty. What's up? Mason dumped me. Her face flashed shock, then fury. He did what? In public? I spilled the story, her outrage growing. He called you ugly? That trash. You're gorgeous, Michelle. You're brilliant, kind, a lifesaver. He's nothing in a shiny suit. If she only knew how true that was. I'm fine, I lied. Really? You're not fine. You're plotting. I know that look, it's the same one you had when you caught Dr. Kingston stealing meds. Emma knew me too well. Plotting? Me? I'm just a nurse. Just adequate. Don't, she snapped, fork aimed at me. Don't let that jerk make you feel less than incredible. My phone buzzed. Vic, first sweep done. Meet tonight, your place, 9 p.m. I replied, set. Who's that? Emma asked. Wrong number, I said smoothly. Gotta get back. Mrs. Rodriguez needs her meds tweaked. Michelle, she grabbed my hand, promise me you won't do anything dumb. Don't let him change who you are. I squeezed back, smiling. Don't worry, Em. I'll be okay. At 9 p.m., Vic knocked on my door. Same as always, platinum hair in a tight bun, sharp blue eyes, quiet elegance from years in high-stakes work. Michelle, she said, hugging me briefly. You look great. Normal life suits you. Thanks, Vic. Come in. She opened her briefcase on my kitchen table with precision. When you vanished into nurse life, I thought you were gone for good. Your dad would be proud, you know. The company's stock is up 40% since you picked the managers. They're good, but they're not you. Vic pulled out a thick file. So, why do you want to crush Mason Taylor? I didn't say crush. She gave me a look that could freeze a lake. Michelle, I've known you since you were 16. This isn't a casual check, it's a full takedown. I sank into my chair. What did you find? Mason's a classic narcissist with big dreams and bigger debts, Vic said, opening the file like a dealer showing her cards. On paper, he's polished, marketing manager, nice place, fancy clothes, leased BMW. But dig deeper. She laid out photos and papers. Maxed out credit cards, $43,000 in student loans, 2 months behind on rent, juggling accounts to dodge fees. His flashy life? All fake. What's his deal at work? I asked. Pinnacle's in trouble, Vic said. They've been quietly cutting jobs for months. Mason's role is hanging by a thread. Her voice lowered. And he's been stealing. My stomach dropped. Stealing? Yeah, little bits, $100, $200 at a time. He skimmed about $15,000 from client accounts, charging personal stuff as business expenses. Does Pinnacle know? Not yet. But they will if someone points them in the right direction. Vic smirked. Want them to find out now or later? I stared at Mason's smug headshot, his arrogance practically glowing. What about his buddies? Jake's buried in gambling debts. Trevor's sleeping with his boss's wife. Ryan's got a sealed juvenile record that could tank his security clearance at his defense job. How sealed? Assault charges. That's all you need to know. My mind raced, a plan forming. Vic, I need a favor. Say it. Tip off Pinnacle about Mason's theft, make it look like a routine audit caught it. She nodded. Done. Next? Can you make Jake's creditors demand payment all at once? Easy. I know his main lender. And Trevor's affair, get it to his boss, anonymously. Ryan's record? Vic's grin was razor sharp. Leave that to me. I gazed out at my quiet suburban street. 3 days ago, I was just a woman searching for love. Now, I was plotting to take down 4 men who thought they were invincible. You sure? Vic asked softly. This is permanent. They'll be ruined. I remembered Mason's voice booming across Romano's, a girl like you should be grateful I even dated you. His friend's laughter rang in my ears. I thought of every woman belittled by men who felt entitled to cruelty. They should have thought twice before humiliating someone they thought was helpless. Vic packed her files. It's done. But Mason's got enemies. His money troubles and shady accounting could interest a lot of people. After she left, I opened my laptop, pulling up Mason's polished social media, his LinkedIn, his company bio. He looked untouchable. Soon, that would vanish. But ruining him wasn't enough. I wanted him to feel public shame, to beg, to know I was the one who broke him. At 3 a.m., my phone rang, Mason. I let it go to voicemail. The game was just starting. Tuesday, I was restocking supplies in the trauma unit when Emma burst in, eyes huge. Michelle, you hear about Pinnacle Marketing? My hands stayed steady, but my pulse jumped. What about it? Embezzlement. Some manager stole from clients. They fired him and called the cops. It's all over the news. I checked my phone. The headline screamed, Local Marketing Manager Arrested for Embezzlement. Mason's headshot stared back. Mason Taylor, 30, allegedly stole $15,000 from client accounts. Pinnacle found discrepancies in a routine audit and contacted police. Taylor was arrested Tuesday morning. I bit my lip to hide a smile. That's awful, I said, voice flat. Isn't that your ex? Emma peered at my screen. Yeah, it is. Wow, Michelle. I knew he was a jerk, but a crook? Guess you never really know someone, I said softly. Wednesday, Vic texted a gossip blog link, defense contractor employee loses clearance after juvenile record leaks. Ryan's photo sat above details of his old assault charges reaching his employer. No clearance, no job. No job, no fancy lifestyle. Thursday, Trevor's affair hit the society pages. His boss's wife hurled a vase at him in a swanky restaurant, water and roses soaking him. The photo caught his stunned face. His boss fired him the next day. Jake's fall was my favorite. Friday morning, Vic had his creditors demand every cent. Unable to pay, Jake panicked, tried stealing from his company, and got caught within hours. By evening, he was in jail with Mason. By Saturday, Mason's crew was done. That's when he started calling. At 6 a.m., as I made coffee, my phone rang. Michelle, thank God, he gasped. Mason, I said, faking confusion, why are you calling? I thought you said. I know I screwed up at the restaurant, Mason pleaded. I was drunk, trying to impress the guys. I didn't mean it. You sounded pretty sure, I said coldly. Please, Michelle. I'm in deep trouble. Arrested. Jobless. I need help. What kind? Legal? Money? I can't afford a decent lawyer. The public defender's a kid, barely graduated. I let silence hang heavy. Michelle, you there? I'm here. Just wondering why I'd help you after you called me ugly, adequate, lucky to have you. I was wrong. Totally wrong. You're gorgeous, incredible. I was a fool to lose you. So, you want me back? Yes. We can fix this. I hung up. He called again. Voicemail. Michelle, don't hang up. I love you. I know I showed it terribly, but I do. Call me back. 2 hours later, another call. Something's off, Michelle. It's not just me. Jake and I are arrested. Trevor's fired. Ryan lost his clearance. Someone's targeting us. That caught my attention. That's weird, I said cautiously. Right? All 4 of us, same week. What are the odds? Pretty slim, I guess. Exactly. I know it sounds nuts, but someone with serious power is after us. Like who? No clue. A rival, maybe? Someone we ticked off? He was closer to the truth than I liked. Mason, you sound paranoid. Bad things happen sometimes. All at once? Michelle, you're smart. You spot patterns at the hospital. Doesn't this feel planned? I think you're dodging blame for your own messes. Messes? I was careful with my finances. Someone dug up my mistakes. Not careful enough. A long pause. You're right. I screwed up, and I'm paying. But I need help. You're the only one I trust. Really? Me? Yes. You cared about me for me, not what I could offer. The irony was almost laughable. What do you want, Mason? A loan. Just for a good lawyer. I'll repay you when I'm back on my feet. How much? $50,000. I nearly choked. I earned that in interest every few days. I'm a nurse, Mason. Where'd I get $50,000? A loan? Your family? My family's not rich, and I can't get a loan that big. What about $20,000, $10,000? Anything? I pretended to think. Maybe $5,000. But after what you said, why should I help? Because you're good. You save lives. You still care about me, don't you? He was right, I cared about seeing him squirm. I need a few days. Michelle, my hearing's Monday. Then you'll have your public defender. People go to jail with those. Should have thought of that before stealing. Silence stretched. Do you hate me? He asked. The question was simple, the answer complex. No, Mason, I don't hate you. Hate was too small. He wasn't worth hating, just a problem to fix, a stain to erase. Thank you, he whispered. I'll call tomorrow. Sure. I hung up, opened my laptop, and moved $5,000 from my investments to my checking, not to give him, but to show him my worth when the time came. Sunday night, he called again, desperate. Michelle, I've been thinking. I know who's targeting us. My blood froze. Who? Your family. What? You said they had money, right? Not crazy rich, but enough. What if they heard what I said and decided to teach me a lesson? I almost laughed. He was wrong but sniffing too close to the truth. Mason, my family doesn't have that kind of cash or pull. You sure? The timing's too perfect. I humiliate you, and my life falls apart in a week. You think my family cares that much about me to plot revenge? I let the question sting. Mason, you're paranoid. My family can barely pay their bills, let alone orchestrate this. Then explain it. How do 4 successful guys crash at once? You weren't that successful, I said softly. You just acted like it. What's that mean? Maybe the universe is balancing things out. Maybe you all got away with too much for too long. That's not how life works, Michelle. Isn't it? Monday, 3 a.m., my phone rang. I was awake, sipping tea, watching the sunrise, thinking about justice. Michelle, Mason's voice broke. I'm sorry. So sorry. What happened? My hearing was a disaster. They're talking 18 months in prison if I plead guilty. I'm sorry to hear that, I said coolly, sipping my tea. Are you? Or are you glad? Mason's voice trembled. Why would I be glad? Because I hurt you. I know I did. Mason, I don't enjoy seeing people suffer. Mostly true. I didn't care about suffering in general, just his, and that of men who thought they could destroy others without consequences. I know you're not like that. That's why I'm calling. I need your help. I said I'd think about the loan. Not that. Something else. What? Be my character witness. The words hit like a slap. What? At my sentencing. I need someone to say I'm not a bad guy, just made mistakes. You knew me best. Tell them about our good times, how I was when it was just us. Mason, please. I know I don't deserve it. I was cruel, stupid, wrong. But Michelle, I'm broken now. Completely broken. His voice cracked, arrogance gone, replaced by raw fear. It was music to my ears. I'll think about it, I said. Really? Thank you, Michelle. I swear, if you help me, I'll spend my life making it up to you. I'll be the man you deserved. I hung up, smiling in my quiet apartment. Mason thought he could play me, use my kindness to dodge his consequences. He didn't know the soft Michelle he loved died at Romano's. Now, I was someone else, someone who knew mercy was for the powerful, and I wasn't feeling generous. The courthouse loomed, all gray stone and harsh lights that made everyone look guilty. I sat in the back, navy dress, innocent face. Mason slumped at the defendant's table, his flashy suit swapped for a cheap, borrowed outfit. His perfect hair was a mess, eyes shadowed. He looked like a man meeting reality head-on. The judge called for character witnesses. I stood. Your Honor, I'd like to speak for the defendant. Mason's head snapped up, relief flooding his face. He mouthed thank you, eyes wet. I walked to the stand, swore on the Bible to tell the truth, and meant it. State your name and relationship to the defendant, the judge said. Michelle Wilson. Mason was my boyfriend for 2 years. Was? Yes, we broke up recently. Yet you're here for him. I am. Tell us about your relationship with Mr. Taylor. I locked eyes with Mason, his face desperate with hope. Your Honor, I met Mason 2 years ago. He could be charming, funny, sweet when he tried. He took me to fancy dinners, gave me gifts, said he loved me. Mason nodded, eager. But, I continued, I saw another side of him, one that matters here. His hope dimmed. What side, Ms. Wilson? Mason struggles with honesty, Your Honor. Not just at work, with the embezzlement, but with me too. His lawyer twitched, ready to object, but I pressed on. He lied about his money. He'd take me to pricey restaurants, forget his wallet, and leave me with bills I couldn't afford. He borrowed cash from me, promising to repay, and never did. How much? The judge asked. I was ready, having tracked every dollar he'd cost me. About $3,000 over 2 years, Your Honor. Mason paled. The money wasn't the worst, I said. The worst was how he treated me when he thought I didn't matter. Explain. 3 weeks ago, at Romano's, his friends joined us. In front of them and strangers, Mason called me ugly, said I wasn't good enough, said I should be grateful he dated me. He left me with a $200 bill, shouting that a girl like me was lucky to have him. The courtroom went still. 3 weeks ago? Yes, Your Honor. And you're here for him? I'm here to tell the truth about Mason's character. He thinks rules don't apply to him, stealing money, or treating people with basic respect. Mason stared, shocked. He called me after his arrest, begging for help, not out of remorse, but for a $50,000 lawyer loan he knew I couldn't afford. When I said no, he asked for less. Even now, Mason only cares about what others can do for him. I faced Mason squarely. Your Honor, I don't think Mason's evil. But he's selfish, manipulative, and refuses to own his actions. The embezzlement fits him perfectly, something you'd do if you think the world owes you a life you didn't earn. The judge scribbled notes, nodding. Anything else, Ms. Wilson? Yes. Mason asked me here, thinking I still loved him, thinking love would make me lie. He thought I was weak, grateful, easy to control. He was wrong. Mason's no victim. He chose to lie, steal, and hurt people. His consequences are overdue. Silence gripped the courtroom. I returned to my seat, every eye on me. Mason's lawyer whispered frantically, but Mason just stared, like he was seeing me anew. During the recess, he stormed over in the hallway. What was that? He snapped. The truth. The truth? You just tanked my chance at a light sentence. Did I? I thought I was your character witness. I shared what I saw. You vindictive, I can't believe I thought I loved you. I smiled. There's the real Mason. For a moment, with all your begging, I thought prison changed you. You think this is a joke? I think justice is gorgeous. He grabbed my arm, fingers tight. You don't know who you're messing with. Don't I? My tone made him loosen his grip. Here's the thing, Mason. You were right, someone's targeting you and your friends. Someone with resources, connections, someone who could orchestrate your downfall. His eyes widened. You were wrong about who. What are you saying? I'm saying you're adequate, Michelle. The ugly nurse you thought was beneath you isn't what she seems. His face shifted, confusion, fear, realization. It was you. Obviously. How? You don't have that kind of money or power. Don't I? I showed him my banking app, the balance dwarfing his theft. I'm Michelle Wilson, but I was born Michelle Blackstone, of Blackstone Industries, a $12 billion tech empire I've run successfully for 3 years while posing as a nurse. Mason's legs buckled. He slumped against the wall, staring like I was a phantom. You're rich. I'm wealthier than you can imagine. I could have bought your company without blinking, paid your legal fees with pocket change, erased your problems with one call. Then why didn't you? Because you called me ugly in front of a restaurant and ditched me with the bill. The simplicity broke him. That's it? You ruined my life over a mean comment? You shamed me publicly, thinking I was powerless. You were wrong. Michelle, please. With that money, that power, you can fix this. I'm begging. Why would I? Because you loved me once. That woman's still in there. I studied his desperate, terrified face. You're right, I said. That woman's still here. Hope sparked in his eyes. But she died at Romano's when the man she loved humiliated her for his friend's amusement. The Michelle you see now knows mercy's a luxury, and forgiveness must be earned. What do you want? Name it, I'll do it. I want you in prison, Mason. 18 months to reflect on what it's like to be disposable. You're joking. I'm dead serious. But I'm not cruel. I've donated to the prison system. Your cell will be private, you'll have good medical care, education access, and protection from dangerous inmates. He stared, horrified. You'll let me go to jail but make it comfortable? I'm not evil. I just want you to think. Think about what? About being powerless, betrayed, discarded by someone who thinks they're better. The bailiff called court back. I've got to go, I said. Good luck, Mason. He shouted after me. Michelle. Wait. We can fix this. But I was already gone. Mason got 18 months in federal prison. I wasn't there for the sentencing, I was at work, helping Dr. Martinez save a construction worker. Victoria texted me, package delivered. Target down. Mission complete. That night, I sipped wine in my apartment, thinking over the past month. For men who thought they were invincible, learned they weren't. For men who believed they could shame someone without repercussions, found out they were mistaken. But my work wasn't finished. 6 months into Mason's sentence, a letter arrived. Handwritten on prison paper, my name in neat block letters. Dear Michelle, you probably don't want to hear from me, but I had to write. I've had time to think about what I did, who you are. You were right. I was selfish, cruel, blind to what I had. I treated you horribly, thinking you couldn't fight back, thinking you were weak, inadequate, grateful. I was so wrong. You said in the courthouse the woman who loved me died at Romano's. I think you're wrong. That woman was never real. You were playing a game from the start, watching me, waiting for my true self to show. When I proved how cruel I could be, you ended it. I don't blame you. I'd have done the same if I had your brains and power. Why did you pick me? With your wealth, smarts, you could have had anyone. Why waste 2 years on me? I think you were lonely. Being that rich, that powerful, makes trust impossible. Everyone wants something. So, you became ordinary, testing if someone could love the real you. I failed your test. I'm truly sorry, Michelle. Not just for getting caught, not just for prison, but for proving you can't trust anyone. For crushing your hope in front of strangers. I loved the woman you showed me, not the real you. I never knew her, but I loved your kindness, your nurse's heart, your laugh at old movies, your excitement over small things, your tears at dog commercials. I loved that less than showing off for my friends. I don't know if the real Michelle Blackstone has those traits or if they were an act, but if they're real, I'm sorry I wasn't enough for her. I'm not asking for forgiveness or early release. I deserve this, and prison's probably safest for me. Jake's in the next cell, sharing stories. Trevor's wife left him, taking half of nothing. Ryan's clearance loss was the least of his troubles. Turns out, plenty hold grudges against a guy who hurt kids at 16. I'm writing to say your experiment wasn't a total flop. I loved you, as much as someone like me can love. And I think, beneath your anger, you loved me too. Maybe that's enough. I hope you find someone worthy of the real you, someone who sees your wealth, power, brains, and still loves the woman who saves cats and cries at movies. I hope you're happy, Michelle. You deserve it more than anyone. Thanks for the private cell and protection. You didn't have to. That you did tells me the kind woman I loved was partly real. That matters. Mason. I read it 3 times, poured another glass of wine. Mason saw more than I'd thought. He got my experiment, pretending to be ordinary to test if love could exist without money or power. He nailed the loneliness. When everyone knows your worth, their motives shift, and trust vanishes. But he was wrong about one thing. The woman he loved wasn't fake. She was real when I nursed him through sickness, laughed at his bad jokes, fell asleep in his arms during movies. She was real until he called me ugly in front of a crowd. Now, she's gone, replaced by someone sharper, tougher, more dangerous. I open my secure messaging app. Victoria, I need a favor. What's up? Reduce Mason's sentence to time served. A long pause. Sure. He's only done 6 months. You worked hard to put him there. I'm sure. Can you do it? Of course. Why? He passed the test. What test? The final one. I stared at his letter, his careful handwriting, words that cost him to write. He saw the real me, Victoria. Not just the money or power, but the person. He's sorry, not for getting caught, but for hurting someone he loved. So, you're forgiving him? I'm freeing him. That's different. I'll handle it, Michelle. That evening, I sat with a glass of wine, mulling over the past month. For men who thought they were above consequences learned the truth. For men who humiliated me found out they were wrong. But my plan wasn't over. 6 months into Mason's sentence, a letter came. Handwritten on prison paper, my name in careful block letters. Dear Michelle, you likely don't want my words, but I need to write them. I've had time to reflect on my actions, on you. You were right, I was selfish, cruel, blind to what I had. I treated you awfully, thinking you were powerless, weak, grateful. I was wrong. You said the woman who loved me died at Romano's. I think she was never real. You were testing me from day one, watching, waiting for my true colors. When I showed my cruelty, you ended it. I don't blame you. I'd have done the same if I had your smarts and power. Why me? With your wealth, brains, you could have had anyone. Why 2 years with me? I think you were lonely. Being rich and powerful makes trust impossible. Everyone has an agenda. So, you played ordinary, hoping for real love. I failed you. I'm sorry, Michelle. Not just for prison, not just for getting caught, but for proving no one can be trusted. For crushing your hope in public. I loved the woman you showed me, not the real you. I never knew her, but I loved your kindness, your nurse's heart, your laugh at old films, your joy in small things, your tears at dog ads. I loved that less than impressing my friends. I don't know if the real Michelle Blackstone has those traits or if they were a role, but if they're real, I'm sorry I wasn't enough. I'm not asking for forgiveness or early release. I deserve this, and prison's safer for me now. Jake's next door, sharing tales. Trevor's wife left him with nothing. Ryan's clearance loss was just the start. Plenty hate a guy who hurt kids at 16. I'm writing to say your test wasn't a total bust. I loved you, as much as someone like me could. And I think, beneath your anger, you loved me too. Maybe that's enough. I folded the letter carefully, my fingers tracing the edges of the envelope as if it held some fragile secret. Mason's words lingered in the air like smoke from a dying fire, thick, insistent, impossible to ignore. I set it down on the kitchen counter and reached for the wine bottle again. The deep red liquid glinted under the soft glow of the pendant light, promising a momentary escape from the whirlwind in my mind. I poured slowly, watching the swirl in the glass, letting the silence of my apartment wrap around me like an old blanket. 3 times. I'd read it 3 times now, each pass peeling back another layer. The first read was raw, anger flickering at the edges, surprise at his insight. The second brought a reluctant admiration. He'd pieced together my puzzle with startling accuracy. By the third, there was something softer, a crack in the armor I'd built so meticulously after Romano's. Mason Taylor, the man who'd once made me feel small, had seen me. Truly seen me. Not the nurse with the modest apartment and the beat-up Civic, but the woman behind the mask, the one who'd engineered his downfall with the precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel. He'd nailed the experiment, that much was undeniable. Hiding my wealth wasn't just a whim, it was a deliberate dive into the deep end of vulnerability. I'd wanted to know if love could bloom in the soil of normalcy, unfertilized by fortune or fame. Could someone look at me, sweaty scrubs, coffee stains, laughter lines from too many late-night shifts, and choose me anyway? Mason had, or so I'd thought. Until that night, when the mask he'd worn slipped, revealing the rot beneath. His letter captured that loneliness perfectly, the isolation of immense power, where every smile hides an agenda, every compliment a calculation. When you're Michelle Blackstone, heir to an empire built on code and ambition, trust becomes a luxury you can't afford. People don't see you, they see the shadow of your father, the gleam of your assets, the doors your name can open. But oh, how he'd gotten one thing so profoundly wrong. The woman he loved, the one who bandaged his ego after a bad day, who curled against him on the couch with a bowl of popcorn and a forgotten rom-com, wasn't a fabrication. She was me, unfiltered and fierce, the part of my soul that nursing had awakened. I'd always been drawn to healing, even as a girl tinkering with algorithms in my father's dimly lit office. Saving lives wasn't a role, it was a calling. I'd nursed him through that brutal flu 2 winters ago, pressing cool cloths to his forehead, whispering stupid jokes to coax a smile. I'd laughed, God, how I'd laughed, at his puns, even the groaners, because in those moments, with his head on my lap and the world shut out, it felt real. We'd fallen asleep tangled in sheets that smelled of him, his breath steady against my neck, and I'd believed, foolishly, that we'd built something unbreakable. That woman didn't die at Romano's. She shattered. The shards were sharp, embedding deep, turning tenderness to steel. What rose from the wreckage was sharper, yes, more dangerous, armed with the full arsenal of my inheritance. But she wasn't new, she was the evolution, the nurse who'd learned that some wounds require excision, not just stitches. Mason's cruelty had been the scalpel this time, carving away illusion to expose truth. And in that exposure, I'd found a clarity I'd never known. The wine warmed my chest as I leaned against the counter, staring at the letter. Forgiveness wasn't a word I'd entertained since that night. Revenge had been cleaner, more satisfying, a calculated storm that left his world in ruins. But here, in the quiet hours, with his words echoing, I felt the stirrings of something else. Not absolution, not erasure of the pain, but release. Holding on to the grudge was like carrying a stone in my pocket, familiar, heavy, a constant reminder. What if I set it down? Not for him, but for the woman who'd emerged from the ashes, the one ready to wield her power not just as a weapon, but as a tool for good. I set the glass down with a soft clink and pulled out my phone. The secure messaging app glowed to life, its interface as sleek and impenetrable as the life I'd hidden behind it. Victoria's icon was at the top, always vigilant, always ready. My thumbs hovered, then typed. Victoria, I need something. The response was instant, as if she'd been waiting. What's up? Reduce Mason's sentence to time served. A pause. The three dots danced, then stopped, then danced again. Sure. He's only served 6 months after all your effort. I could picture her, platinum bun tight, blue eyes narrowing over the rim of her reading glasses, the faint lines of concern etching her forehead. Victoria had been my father's shadow, then mine, a guardian forged in the fires of espionage and boardroom battles. She'd executed my plans with ruthless efficiency, never questioning the why, only the how. But this? This was a pivot, a curveball in a straight-line game. I'm sure. Can you do it? Yes. Why? He passed the final test. What test? I glanced back at the letter, his handwriting a neat confession on the page. He saw the real me, not just the money, but the person. He's sorry for hurting me, not just for getting caught. Another pause, longer this time. Forgiving him? Freeing him. Different thing. I'll arrange it. The screen went dark, and I exhaled, the air leaving me in a rush. It was done. No fanfare, no ceremony, just a quiet command rippling through the channels of power I'd always held at arm's length. Mason would wake tomorrow to freedom, or as close to it as a man with his stains could get. Not because he deserved it, but because I'd decided his lesson was learned. And in that decision, I'd reclaimed a piece of myself, the part that believed in second chances, not for the wicked, but for the redeemable. The next morning dawned crisp, the kind of autumn day that painted the suburbs in gold and crimson. I was at the hospital early, the familiar scent of antiseptic greeting me like an old friend. My shift blurred into the rhythm I'd mastered, vitals checked, wounds dressed, lives studied on the edge of chaos. But today, there was a lightness in my step, a subtle shift that even the fluorescent lights couldn't dim. Emma burst through the trauma unit doors mid-morning, her scrubs rumpled, ponytail swinging like a pendulum. Her eyes sparkled with that irrepressible energy that had drawn me to her in nursing school, the kind that said she carried the world's weight but refused to let it crush her spirit. Michelle, guess who I saw at the coffee shop this morning? I didn't have to guess. I'd orchestrated the currents that brought him back into the world, felt the echo of it in my bones. But I played along, stacking gauze packs with deliberate calm. Mason Taylor. Her face fell, mouth agape in mock betrayal. How did you know? Are you psychic now, or did you install cameras in my latte? Lucky guess. How did he look? She leaned against the supply cart, crossing her arms, her expression softening into something wistful. Honestly, terrible. I mean, not terrible, like hit by a bus terrible, but different. Older, sadder. Like the shine's worn off, you know? He had this haunted look, like he'd seen ghosts. And he asked about you. My hands stilled on the bandages, the sterile wrapper crinkling under my fingers. What did you tell him? I told him you were doing great, that you'd been promoted to head trauma nurse, and that you were dating someone new. She grinned, unrepentant. 2 out of 3 were spot on, I had the promotion, and life was, against all odds, great. The dating fib was our little shield, a story we'd spun to keep the past at bay. What did he say? Emma's grin faded, replaced by a flicker of something deeper, pity, perhaps, or reluctant empathy. He said he was glad you were happy. No drama, no pleading. Just quiet acceptance. And then he asked me to give you something. She fished an envelope from her pocket, the paper crisp and white, my name scrawled in those same block letters that had haunted my kitchen counter. I took it, the weight of it featherlight yet immense, like holding a storm in my palm. Did he say anything else? Yeah. He said to tell you that he understood why you did what you did and that he hoped someday you might forgive him enough to read what he wrote. Emma's eyes searched mine, probing for cracks. Michelle, what the hell is going on? You look like you've got the weight of the world in that envelope. I tucked it into my pocket, the paper crackling against my thigh. Emma, what do you think I should do about Mason? She straightened, her nurse's pragmatism kicking in like a reflex. Honestly? Stay the hell away. I don't care how sorry he is or how much orange jumpsuits reformed his soul. What he did, calling you ugly in public, ditching you with the bill, that's unforgivable. Burn the letter, block his number, move on. If he's really changed, great. Let him spread that gospel somewhere else. Her words landed like stones in still water, rippling through me. Emma had been my anchor in this pretend life, the one person who'd seen glimpses of the real me without flinching. She'd held my hand through the tears after Romano's, brewed endless pots of tea during my late-night rants, celebrated my small victories with the fervor of a cheerleader. She didn't know the full scope, the billions, the boardrooms, the calculated takedown, but she knew enough to spot the scars. I nodded, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. You're probably right. Thanks, Em. The rest of the shift passed in a haze of beeps and bandages, but the envelope burned against my skin, a talisman demanding attention. By evening, back in my apartment, the city's hum a distant lullaby through the window. I couldn't ignore it any longer. The street below was bathed in twilight, lamps flickering to life like hesitant stars. Inside, the air felt charged, thick with anticipation. I slit the envelope with a butter knife, the paper yielding with a soft tear. Mason's handwriting filled the page, steady and unadorned, each word a deliberate step on a path I'd never expected him to tread. Michelle, I'm not supposed to contact you. I'm sure you could have me arrested for harassment, and honestly, I wouldn't blame you. But there are things I need to say, and I'm hoping you'll give me the chance to say them. I know what you did. I know you arranged for my early release, just like I know you arranged for my comfortable stay in prison. I know because the same lawyer who told me about my sentence reduction also told me that an anonymous benefactor had been covering his fees. Anonymous benefactor, right? I want you to know that I don't expect anything from you. I'm not writing this to ask for a second chance or to beg for forgiveness or to try to win you back. I know that ship sailed a long time ago, and it's not coming back to shore. I'm writing this to say thank you. Thank you for showing me who I really was. Thank you for holding up a mirror and forcing me to look at the ugly, selfish, cruel person I'd become. Thank you for teaching me that actions have consequences, even for people who think they're too smart or too charming to get caught. Most of all, thank you for showing me mercy when you had every reason not to. I spent 6 months in prison thinking about what you said in the courthouse. You said the woman who loved me died in Romano's restaurant. Maybe that's true, but if she's gone, I'm the one who killed her, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. I'm different now, Michelle. Prison changes you, but more than that, understanding what I lost changes you. I know I can't prove that to you with a letter, and I'm not asking for the chance to prove it in person. I'm just telling you because I think you deserve to know. I'm working at a nonprofit now, helping people who are struggling with debt and financial problems. It doesn't pay much, but it feels good to use my marketing skills to help people instead of taking advantage of them. It feels good to wake up in the morning knowing I'm going to make someone's life better instead of worse. I'm also going to therapy twice a week. Dr. Rodriguez says I have narcissistic tendencies and an unhealthy need for external validation. She says it's going to take years of work to unlearn the patterns I've spent my whole life developing. I'm willing to do the work. I know none of this matters to you. I know you've moved on with your life, found someone who deserves the amazing woman you are. But I needed you to know that your experiment wasn't a complete failure. You wanted to find out if someone could love the real you. The answer is yes, I did love you, Michelle, not perfectly, not unselfishly, but genuinely. The problem wasn't that you're unlovable. The problem was that I wasn't worthy of loving you. Maybe someday I will be, not for you, I know that chance is gone, but for someone else. Someone who won't make the mistakes I made. Thank you for everything, Michelle. Thank you for loving me when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for punishing me when I needed it. And thank you for freeing me when I'd learned from it. I hope your life is everything you want it to be. Mason. The words blurred as I read, not from tears, God, no, I was past tears, but from the sheer weight of their honesty. Mason, the man who'd once strutted through life like he owned the air, was owning his flaws now. No excuses, no deflections, just a raw accounting of the man he'd been and the one he was clawing toward. The nonprofit job, using his silver tongue for good, not grease. Therapy, that grueling excavation of the self. It was redemption in action, the kind I'd hoped for but never dared expect. I set the letter beside its predecessor, the 2 pages a bridge between ruin and renewal. The apartment felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in with memories, the spot on the couch where we'd binge-watched thrillers, his laughter echoing off the tiles in the kitchen during pancake disasters. I'd built this life as a refuge, a petri dish for authenticity, but now it felt like a cocoon I'd outgrown. The nurse in me wanted to heal, to mend the fractures he'd exposed. The heiress wanted to soar, to channel that healing on a scale that could touch thousands. Emma's words from earlier echoed, stay away. Wise, practical Emma, who'd fight dragons for me but knew when to draw the line. But lines were for maps, not hearts. Mine had been redrawn in the fire of betrayal, expanded to encompass mercy as a strength, not a weakness. The decision settled over me like dusk, gentle, inevitable. Forgiveness wasn't erasure, it was excavation, digging out the rot to let light in. I picked up my phone again, not for Victoria this time, but for the one person who'd earned a glimpse of the bridge I'd crossed. I typed quickly, fingers flying before doubt could catch up. Mason, I got your letter. I'm proud of the work you're doing, and I'm glad you're getting help. You're right that we can't go back, but I want you to know that I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. Carrying anger is exhausting, and I'm tired of being angry. Be well, Michelle. Send. The whoosh was final, a door clicking shut on one chapter, cracking open another. His reply buzzed almost immediately, thank you. That means more to me than you'll ever know. I deleted his number, the digits vanishing like smoke. No more tethers, no more ghosts. Just forward motion, clean and unburdened. The closet door creaked as I pulled it open, the garment bag hanging like a relic from another life. Dust motes danced in the slanting light as I unzipped it, revealing the cascade of silk and sparkle, the black cocktail dress that whispered of galas and power plays, the jewelry that could fund a small nation, the heels that clicked with authority. I'd shoved them away when I chose scrubs over suits, normalcy over notoriety. But normalcy had been a season, not a sentence. I was Michelle Blackstone, daughter of innovation, architect of empires, healer in a world that too often wounded. It was time to step into the light. Monday morning arrived with a bite in the air, the leaves outside my window turning in defiant splendor. I dressed with care, tailored pants, a crisp blouse, the kind of outfit that said interim but meant interlude's end. My supervisor's office was a cozy nook crammed with files and faded photos of smiling patients. She looked up from her desk, surprise flickering in her eyes at my formal attire. Michelle? Everything okay? I slid the resignation letter across the desk, the paper smooth under my palm. I'm handing in my notice. Effective in 2 weeks. Her brows shot up, chair creaking as she leaned forward. What? Why? Is it the hours? We can adjust. No, it's not that. I smiled, genuine this time, the weight of secrets lifting. I've been offered an opportunity one can't turn down. She scanned the letter, her expression shifting from shock to a warm, if puzzled, pride. Head nurse material, and you're leaving? We'll miss you, Michelle. You've been the heart of this unit. We talked for an hour, logistics, well wishes, a promise to stay in touch. As I left her office, the halls buzzed with the usual chaos, carts rattling, voices overlapping in urgent harmony. Colleagues stopped me with questions, hugs, a chorus of what next. I deflected with laughs and vague promises, saving the truth for Emma. She was in the break room, nursing a vending machine coffee that tasted like regret. I slid into the seat across from her, the envelope from yesterday tucked in my bag like a talisman. I've got news. She set her cup down, eyes narrowing. If it's about Mason, I swear. Not that. Though it was, in a way, the ripple effect. I'm resigning. Leaving the hospital. Her cup clattered, coffee sloshing over the rim. What? Michelle, no. You're the best damn nurse here. What happened? Burnout? That promotion we talked about? I reached across, squeezing her hand. The break room's hum faded, just us in that bubble of shared history. It's time for a change. I'm going back to where I came from. Taking the reins at my family's company. Emma's eyes widened, pieces clicking. Blackstone? As in, the Blackstone Industries? Holy shit, Michelle. You aren't just from money, you're the money. I laughed, the sound light and free. Guilty. I needed this time, this life, to figure things out. Nursing grounded me, showed me what matters. But I'm ready now. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over as she pulled me into a hug that smelled of hospital soap and unwavering loyalty. Where are you going? Will I see you again? Back to the city, the headquarters. But you'll see me. Hell, I want you there. I pulled back, grinning through the emotion. The first trauma center opens in this city. Free care, top staff, funded by, well, me. Head nurse position's yours if you want it. Triple the pay, no more vending sludge. She blinked, stunned, then laughed, a bright, bubbling sound that filled the room. You serious? Emma Clark, Queen of the ER? Dead serious. You were never nobody special, Michelle, she mimicked my earlier words, twisting them with affection. No, wait, that was me to her. You were never ordinary, Em. You saved lives every day, saw me when I was hiding. That makes you rarer than diamonds. We hugged again, longer this time, the future unfolding like a map between us. Emma would thrive, her fire illuminating lives I'd never touched directly. And me? I'd orchestrate from the shadows, turning profit into purpose. A week later, the boardroom at Blackstone Industries felt like stepping into a pressure cooker, air thick with expectation, polished wood gleaming under recessed lights, the city skyline a jagged crown beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. 12 executives ringed the table, titans in tailored suits, their gazes sharp as they assessed the woman who'd been a ghost for 3 years. I stood at the head, black suit hugging my frame like armor forged for battle. The fabric was Italian silk, the cut Seville row, worth more than the Civic I'd driven into the ground, a reminder that power wasn't just inherited, it was claimed. I cleared my throat, the room falling silent as a vault. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice steady, resonant in the vast space. I'm Michelle Blackstone. For the past 3 years, I've been letting other people run my company while I figured out who I wanted to be. Murmurs rippled, curiosity, skepticism, a hint of awe. I'd been the invisible heiress, the prodigal daughter content with proxies. Now, here I was, slides cued on the massive screen, ready to rewrite the narrative. I clicked to the first slide, a vision board of innovation, sleek trauma bays, AI diagnostics, global reach. I'm done figuring. It's time to get back to work. The presentation unfolded like a symphony I'd composed in stolen moments between shifts. Tech for healing, neural networks predicting crises, drones delivering defibrillators, VR therapy for PTSD survivors. Questions flew, budgets, timelines, risks, but I fielded them with the calm of someone who'd stared down death in ER bays. By the end, nods turned to applause, tentative handshakes to firm alliances. Blackstone wasn't just surviving, it was evolving, my vision its beating heart. 6 months blurred into a frenzy of blueprints and board votes, late nights in glass towers yielding to dawn patrols of construction sites. The launch came on a spring morning, the air alive with possibility. Blackstone Industries unveiled its crown jewel, a network of trauma centers, beacons of free emergency care in underserved corners. Elite doctors, cutting-edge tech, an endowment that could swallow nations, all funded by the fortune I'd once hidden like a shameful secret. The first center rose in my old city, a gleaming edifice of glass and steel, its lobby humming with the quiet efficiency of hope. I cut the ribbon, scissors cold in my gloved hands, flashbulbs popping like distant fireworks. Emma stood beside me, scrubs crisp, name tag proclaiming her reign as head nurse. Her salary? Triple, enough for the house she'd dreamed of, the vacation she'd postponed, the life she'd earned stitch by stitch. The crowd parted for the press, microphones thrusting forward like eager hands. A reporter, sharp-eyed and notebook poised, zeroed in. "Ms. Blackstone, why trauma care? With your resources, you could chase any moonshot." I paused, the weight of the moment settling. Trauma. The word evoked blood-slick floors, frantic beeps, the metallic tang of fear. But also resilience, the patient who walked again, the family who held on. Trauma transforms people, I said, voice carrying over the murmur. It can break you, like a wave against rock. Strengthen you, forging steel from shattered glass. Or reveal your true self, stripping away the lies we tell ourselves. Everyone deserves a chance to heal from their trauma and become who they're meant to be. She leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Is this personal for you, Ms. Blackstone?" Personal. The question pierced, pulling threads from the tapestry of my life. I thought of Mason then, not with the old sting, but a quiet curiosity. Was he in some cramped office, poring over ledgers for a single mom drowning in medical debt? Crafting campaigns that lifted instead of lured? His letters painted a man remade, therapy his chisel, remorse his clay. I thought of the girl I'd been, heart open in the glow of his smile, and the fortress I'd built from its ruins. Betrayal hadn't just scarred, it had sculpted. "All healing is personal," I replied, the words steady, sincere. We all carry wounds, seen or unseen, scars from words that cut deeper than knives, losses that echo in empty rooms. It's not about if we'll hurt, we will be, in the raw calculus of living. It's about what we choose to do with that pain. Let it fester, or alchemize it into something that mends the world? The reporter's pen flew, but her next question hung, intimate. "And what did you choose to do with yours?" I met her gaze, then the cameras, the crowd, a sea of faces hungry for story. My smile came unbidden, reaching my eyes for the first time in years, warm as sunlight breaking clouds. I chose to use it to help other people heal theirs. The applause swelled, a tide of affirmation, but I felt it deepest in my chest, a release, a reckoning. Emma squeezed my arm, her whisper fierce, "Damn, girl. You owned that." That night, the penthouse was a sanctuary of solitude, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city's electric pulse. I shed the suit for silk pajamas, poured a rare scotch, smoky, peaty, a nod to Dad's old habits, and sank into the leather armchair. The skyline twinkled, indifferent to human dramas, a canvas of light painting over old shadows. My phone buzzed on the glass table, an unknown number slicing the quiet. "Saw your trauma centers on the news. Amazing work. The world's lucky to have you." I stared, breath catching. "Mason." Of course. The words were simple, but they carried the echo of his letters, humbled, heartfelt, free of demand. No plea for response, just acknowledgement, a nod across the chasm we'd carved. My thumb hovered, then typed. "The world's lucky for those trying to be better. Keep working, Mason. It counts." Send. Delete. Block. The actions were ritual, sealing the vault on our shared history. Not with bitterness, but gratitude, for the lesson, the loss, the launchpad it provided. Some stories end with grand reconciliations, violins swelling as lovers collide. Others with cold revenge, the villains fall a cathartic thud. Mine? It ended with something rarer, more revolutionary: redemption. Not just for him, the man who'd glimpsed his darkness and chosen light, but for me, the woman who'd danced on the edge of vengeance and stepped back, wiser, whole. Mason hadn't just unmasked himself at Romano's that fateful night. He'd illuminated me, too. In the wreckage of his words, I'd discovered depths I hadn't known, the capacity to love with a ferocity that scared me, to hurt with a profundity that reshaped my bones, to wield justice like a lantern rather than a lash. I was the architect of storms, yes, but also the builder of bridges, turning betrayal's bitter ash into fertile soil for growth. Power, I'd learned, wasn't in domination, but direction, guiding the torrent toward tides that lifted all. Pain wasn't a prison, but a prism, refracting into purpose. From the ruins of that dinner, I'd erected empires of empathy, centers where the broken could rebuild. I was Michelle Blackstone, coder turned caregiver, heiress turned healer, a woman who'd stared into the abyss and built stars from its void. And now? Now I was ready. Ready to lead unapologetically, to love without the crutch of pretense, to live as the force I'd always been. The city below pulsed with potential, and for the first time, I felt in sync with its beat, fierce, flawed, unbreakable. The weeks following the launch blurred into a rhythm of ribbon cuttings and roundtables, each center a brick in the wall against suffering. I jetted between sites, the private plane a cocoon of quiet where I reviewed reports and replayed memories. Emma thrived in her role, her texts a lifeline of wit and warmth: saved a kid today. Thought of you, your steady hands in the chaos. I'd reply with emojis and encouragement, our bond a thread unbroken by distance or disclosure. Victoria became a fixture again, her briefings laced with dry humor. The board's eating from your hand, she'd say over encrypted calls, her voice a gravelly comfort. But watch the SEC, they're sniffing around the endowment like hounds. I'd laugh, plotting counters with the ease of old collaborations. Father had taught me chess at 7, life had taught me war. Together, we turned Blackstone into a behemoth of benevolence, profits plowed into people, innovation into inclusion. Yet, in the rare still moments, sipping coffee on a hotel balcony, rain pattering like forgotten regrets, I'd wonder about Mason. Not with longing, but curiosity. Had therapy cracked his shell further? Did his clients see the spark I'd glimpsed in stolen afternoons? His silence was his gift, a respect for boundaries I'd enforced. Redemption, it seemed, was solitary work, its fruits shared only in ripples. One evening, months into the rollout, I attended a gala for medical innovators, crystal chandeliers dripping light, gowns whispering secrets. I navigated the crowd in emerald silk, the dress a nod to that Christmas gift from Mason, repurposed as armor. Conversations flowed, partnerships pitched, breakthroughs toasted. But my mind wandered to Romano's, the clink of glasses, the sting of his words, the pivot that propelled me here. A colleague pulled me aside, eyes alight. Your centers are revolutionizing care. Lives saved already, undocumented families, rural kids. It's personal, isn't it? I nodded, the question a mirror. Deeply. Trauma isn't just physical, it's the echo that lingers. We heal bodies to free souls. As the night waned, I slipped onto the balcony, city lights a mosaic below. The air was cool, carrying hints of jasmine from the gardens. My phone stayed silent, no ghosts tonight. Just me, the stars, and the profound peace of purpose. Redemption wasn't a destination, it was the road, paved with choices that echoed. I'd chosen mercy for Mason, magnitude for myself. And in that choosing, I found not just who I was, but who I could be, a force for mending, a light in the fractures. Michelle Blackstone. Ready, at last, to shine.